it's Kimberly. I'm back at you with another video, and I miss filming so much. Every time I do this, I just remember how much I enjoy doing it. So as promised, I'm here to share with you my most recent birth story for my daughter, Eleanor. I will share her at the end of this video, and she'll have her YouTube debut. Debut? How do you say that? Anyways. So first of all, I will link below my videos leading up to her birth. I had been sharing a bit in each trimester, and a lot of it was revolving around my decision to have a planned C-section or not. So I don't want to get into all of like what led up to that. Just check out those videos if you're curious as to why. I'm just going to be sharing exactly kind of what happened today. So leading up to it, I wasn't really nervous at all. I knew what to expect. I pretty much was just hopeful it couldn't be as bad as it was the first time. So I think that was helping me not be as nervous. And I was just trying to keep it like out of my mind, right? I was really nervous about going into labor early. I felt my whole pregnancy, basically from about 6 months on, that the baby was just gonna come. I really felt like, I don't know, like my body wasn't holding the pregnancy as well. I was really nervous about just going into labor. So originally my surgery was scheduled for 9:15 in the morning, so I was supposed to arrive at the hospital for 7 a.m. They want you there like 2 hours ahead of time for like pre-op and stuff like that. But they called me the week of the surgery and changed it to 11. I think it was like they originally changed, either it was 11 or 11:30, I can't quite remember. So I needed to be there at 9 or 9:30. I woke up that morning, was pretty good, and didn't feel nervous, not too much negative energy. I was just feeling pretty positive. Got Odin to daycare and off we went. So once we got there, they took me up into the actual maternity ward where most of the mothers are staying with their babies after they are born, and we got a room, and then they just got me to get changed, basically just wait. I'd already gone to the hospital 2 days prior to do all of my blood work beforehand, so we didn't even have to worry about any of that. It was all ready to go. And my husband got changed into his gown, and then they just came and got us and took us to the floor where they do the surgeries in the pre-op area. And basically they had everyone come and just ask me all the same questions over again, like the anesthesiologist, and I think there was like a surgical nurse, and then it's a teaching hospital, so the students would come first and ask me, and then the actual person would, like either if it was the doctor or the anesthesiologist, whoever was training them, would come to follow up and kind of repeat the same thing over again. Which I like. I love our local hospital, and I had the same experience with Odin with like having the students treat me first a lot of the time, and all throughout my pregnancy. I actually both times in the OB clinic, I had students treating me a lot of the time there as well, so I'm used to it. It doesn't bother me. And at that point, when I was sitting in the bed in this like pre-op area, there's a bunch of other people next to you who are waiting for surgeries as well. I started getting a little bit nervous at that point. I was kind of like, okay, it's coming. And the main thing I was actually nervous about was getting the spinal, not the actual surgery itself. But so I kept telling myself, it's not gonna be that bad, it's not gonna be that bad, but that was the only thing I was actually nervous about. So they brought me in and they got me on the table and they put you in the position, like the C-curve position, to do the spinal. And they just did they put this numbing kind of injection first before the real deal. And I didn't know they were gonna do that. I thought I just had to suffer through the immediate big needle, but they numbed me first, so it kind of stung, but then I went numb, and then they told me that they were doing the spinal and I couldn't even feel it. So I was like, oh, I was so relaxed. It was such a relief for me. It wasn't bad at all. I couldn't even feel them doing it. And then it was the weirdest sensation, because all of a sudden, immediately I could just feel like this heavy flow of numbness go through my lower body. Like it just was like a river flowing over me, and all of a sudden I was numb to my toes. It was really fast, and I could feel it going down as it worked, like through my bloodstream. Really weird experience. I didn't know that was coming. That's not how it had worked with the epidural. So that was kind of neat. And I remember going to the head nurse. She's holding me and helping me, and I started laughing, and I'm like, that is so trippy. Like that is the trippiest thing I've ever experienced, like medically, I guess you could say, or physically. Like it was just so bizarre. And she's like, yeah, it's working, right? I'm like, yeah. So then they laid me down into the position and got me sort of ready. They put your arms kind of on these holdy things on the side. and they just start like putting like a curtain up and putting like all the solutions on you and getting everything ready for surgery, right? I thought at that point they would bring my husband in, but they didn't. And then I remember that I started to feel really kind of funny because the numbness, once I was laying down, started coming upwards, and it was coming to like my chest area, and I felt like I couldn't breathe. So I was saying I feel funny, like I can't breathe, and they said, actually, like, that it's normal, it's okay, your body's just having a response because you think you can't breathe, you really can breathe. It just feels like you can't, and it's doing like a mind trick with you, and just breathe through it and it'll be okay. And then I guess they were telling me that, but I also heard them say like her heart rate's dropping. So they had to like tilt my, they could tilt the whole operation bed onto the side. I guess that's something that helps your heart when it's having trouble. And they're giving me some medicine. I guess I knew all this was happening because they were teaching the students, so they were like talking her through all of it, so I could hear them talking her through all of it while they're talking me through all of it and telling me kind of different things. But they were really nice about it. Like, my first C-section, I don't want to like go back and forth and talk about my first one a lot. I'll just link that video below, but basically, like, they were just not the nicest to me. It was an emergency surgery with my first one, so everyone was kind of more stressed out and like just like get things done. They didn't want to take the time to walk me through it and deal with me. They were just like treating me like an object on the table a bit. So for them to be like helping me this time just meant so much. Like, and I was making my stress come down so well. And the anesthesiologist was just right by my head, and he was telling me, like, you know, you're okay, this is, your body's reacting, it's just a response, I'm giving you medicine for your heart. And then immediately, it was like a rush. I just felt so much better. I felt whatever he gave me, it worked. I felt way better. They tilted me back down. But then I started getting like the shakes where I was shaking, and I'm like, oh, I had that really bad with my first C-section. And I said, is this normal? I'm gonna just have to deal with this the whole time, aren't I? And he said, yeah, unfortunately, it's kind of like a shock. Your body's having a little bit of like a shock response because your brain can't match your physical body. Like, there's a big disconnection there, and it's just kind of, this is how it's dealing with it. And I'm like, oh. And no one told me that before, so as soon as I knew that it was normal, as soon as I knew that my body was just having this like physical reaction, I was like, oh. And then it went away. It was just like something clicked inside of me, and I knew that it was okay, and then it went away. My first C-section, I remember I thought that it was the drugs. I thought that it was the drugs they were giving me, and that made me feel weird. And he's like, no, it's got nothing to do with the drugs. It's your brain is having a reaction. So then I was like, oh, okay. And so by the time all of this had happened, I guess it felt really quick to me, but I guess some time had gone by, and my husband still wasn't there, but I hadn't even been thinking about him because I was like so preoccupied with everything that was going on. So it was a few minutes went by, you know, they were just making sure, I guess, everything was okay, what I thought. And they're like, we're gonna go get your husband now. I'm like, okay, great. So they brought him in, and he was like really calm, and he's like, hi, you know, and I'm like, oh, hey, like, can you just talk to me? At that point, for some reason, a little bit of nerves kicked in for me. Like, I know that the actual whole procedure from finish to end can take about 45 minutes, and for some reason I started thinking about, oh, I have to lay here through this for quite a while, and that made me uncomfortable. And he's like, yeah, I guess they're gonna get started soon, and the anesthesiologist started giggling, and he's like, they've already started, like, she's already almost here. And we were like, what? And they're like, yeah, like, they're getting ready to pull her out. And we just were shocked. We couldn't believe it. Like, I don't know why, but we didn't have that experience the first time. So it was just, everything was so new. Like, it was the complete opposite experience from my first C-section. It just, nothing happened the same, basically. So we were like, wow. And they were like, yeah. And then I could feel all of a sudden, yep, they're pulling on her. They're trying to pull her out. And they were doing that, and he'd said to my husband, do you want to watch your daughter being born? And he was like, no, because he did not want to look over that curtain. That was like a big deal for him. Do not look over the curtain. We remember it was the first time we were like, don't look, don't look, don't look, right? And he's like, no, it's really not that bad. Like, you can look, I promise. It's not like all gory, like, and you can see her coming out. And we were like, no, we were just too scared. And he was like, give me your phone. So we gave him our phone, and he started taking pictures of the whole thing, which I will share with you. And just forewarning, it is a little bit graphic, so don't freak out or anything, but I will share just real quick a couple. And so then he showed it to us, and we were like, I was like, honey, like, it's not that bad, it's not that bad. And he's like, no, it's not. So he did take just like a real quick peek at the end as she was out. And that was so cool. Like, that was just such an amazing part of her birth story. I will never forget that we actually got even just pictures of it happening. We didn't have that with our son, right? And she cried right away. I could hear her cry, and then I started getting emotional as I knew she was okay. And then she got quiet. She was just a quiet baby after that. That was basically the loudest cry she had for the whole hospital stay. So they put her over, and I'm like, go make sure she's okay, go check on her and stuff. And he went, and then they brought her back, and they were like, we'll lay her on you. And that was a really big deal for me, because with my first C-section, I was so sick, basically, and having such a traumatic response to the whole thing that I was so nauseous and I was gagging by that point that when they brought me Odin, I took maybe 30 seconds and said, please take him, because I just couldn't breathe. I was having a really hard time, and I just needed to focus on surviving. So for her to be brought to me and for me to be in a comfortable position and feeling able to have her with me and have that time meant so much. And they laid her on me, and we had chest to chest for basically the entire rest of the surgery while they were closing up and finishing the rest of it. And I think she was maybe even laying on me for 10 or more minutes, which was amazing. And then, yeah, at the end, they just, were basically finished. So they said, we're going to bundle her up and take her upstairs with your husband. And then they finished up with me, and we were done. And the whole team in the room was making jokes. They were such a funny team, because there's something they did at the end that sounded like something you'd hear at the dentist. And I was like, what are you guys doing down there? And they were like, releasing your inner velociraptor or something. I don't even know what they said, but I just remember laughing and having such a good time. And they cleaned up so well. My first C-section, when they rolled me out, I looked over, and there was blood and rags everywhere. And I remember just being like, ooh, that's mine, right? Oh. And I looked over it this time, and there was nothing. So once again, amazing, completely different than my first experience. And I also expected to be in recovery for 2 to 3 hours, because that's what happened last time. And then this time it was maybe an hour and a half. So once I got upstairs, I got to hold the little Eleanor and feed her, and try to. That's a whole other story, but spend the time with her and, just bond, and it was really special. She woke up. I had to go get her. I will share the rest of the story with her. So this is Eleanor, but I call her Ellie, and she's very grunty right now. She just woke up. She's probably going to be very hungry in a moment. I was going to show you guys a little bit of my postpartum update with my body. So I'm this is me. There's no more baby belly, but you can tell it's there's no shape. It just is an empty area, kind of like a bag of potatoes. That's how I feel anyways. Oh, I know you're hungry. I should finish this video. I'm gonna insert a little bit at the end of some pictures of her and things that I filmed, if there's any clips since she was born. But yeah, she's just been a really great baby. She's been really good. You a little happy, Eleanor? Huh? Yeah. Oh, don't be sad. I know. I'm filming. I'm just so happy with her. She's so cute, and I just love her so much. You want to say hi? Eleanor. Hi, baby Ellie. What are you doing? What are you doing? Are you opening your eyes? Are you opening your eyes? Or are you giving me the stink eye? Mom, why are you bugging me? I'm falling asleep. You were awake a moment ago. Oh, hello. Hi guys, just doing a little vloggy